really feel like it's different for everyone. And I think one of the most important things I've discovered through it all is to do what's best for you, to do what's best for you, and to do what works for you. Because even no matter how many fitness people or people you talk to or advice you get is all nice and like great to um, gain that knowledge, but ultimately it's your success is based off of what works best for you and your lifestyle and your circumstances.
2018 was a transition year for me. During that year, I was blessed to purchase my home with my wife and really give my children something. But one of the biggest things that happened was I lost 30 pounds. Because of that, I was able to become healthier. I felt better. Had to get new clothes. Well, some of you may know, if you follow me on social media, that I had a good friend who was very inspirational. At the time, we worked together in the media relations, public relations, corporate communications team at Johns Hopkins. Today's guest, Ashley Mill, will come on to discuss two things: her fitness journey as well as her journey in the public relations world. So sit back and you can learn something too from my next guest, Ashley Mill. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So on this episode, I am happy to present to you someone who I deem responsible for helping me drop some weight a couple of years ago, and that is the one, the only Ashley Mill, which she'll only be Mill for a limited time only, as she has recently been engaged. So congratulations to her. But at the time of the recording, she is still Ashley Mill. Ashley, how are you today?
I'm so good, so sweet. I'm honored to be a part of your podcast and chat with you, and also, like you said, be a part of your own fitness journey. It's been, I guess, over 2 years now that we've kind of formed our friendship and connected through fitness, and I basically made you go to the gym. So here we are.
Yeah. So it was around. Yeah, it was around. So we're recording this. At the time of recording, it's before April. Well, this will air in April, but and WrestleMania 36 will have already happened. But it was right around the time of WrestleMania 34, and I remember sitting there watching TV, and that whole week, what happened? I got the flu, and I remember. If you remember that time, I had needed you to get me like some paperwork and to
Oh
get
my
me
gosh, yeah.
the copy edits. I was like, hey, so can you like send me a picture of these? Because they gave me handwritten edits and I'm working from home because I'm sick. um, but that week was when I was like, all right, you know what? Enough is enough. I can drop this weight. And then I came to you and you blessed me with quite a few ideas, which I told you once you left that I was gonna be in trouble, which I ain't gonna say I've put on the weight, but I have to get back to where I was, which I've been doing home workouts, especially during this quarantine. Me and my daughter, we've been doing home workouts. But you talk about, when did you first take a passion for fitness?
So it was, I had just graduated college and I like had left my immediate job after college. And so I was in between jobs. And so I was kind of at a point in my life where I was like at a crossroads and like kind of in limbo. And so I had to make a decision essentially where I was like, okay, as I'm applying for jobs and like kind of in this in between part of my life, I can either be productive or not. And so I knew I was going to be on my computer, for a majority of the day applying to jobs and, fixing my resume, writing cover letters, all that, the whole nine for applying. And I was like, I need to keep myself active or else I'm going to go insane. And I mean, growing up, I've always been like an active person, but I never had like a set workout routine or I didn't care like what the hell I ate. Like I've always been like a tiny person in general. So like those kinds of things never crossed my mind. But it really was during that time, during that crossroads where I was like looking for motivation essentially. And I was like, you know what, like fitness like is something I've always like liked, that I like being active. But I've never, like I said, had never had a set like regimen or routine, and that was something I was looking for. I think I was looking for structure as a way to help keep me motivated during my job search. So I joined a 12-week program called Fit Body Guide by this woman, Anna Victoria, who I found on Instagram. And that was kind of my start to my fitness journey, really. I fell in love with like working out and like how like strong my body felt during like the 12-week process. Like I will say like was not a pretty 12-week process. Like the first few weeks I was like, why did I choose to do this to myself? But you know, I feel like with everything that you're starting new, like you kind of grow to love it. And that's definitely what happened to me.
So, uh, so when you look back at it, you said it wasn't necessarily wasn't a pretty 12 weeks. What was the biggest challenge?
Oh gosh, I would say biggest challenge for that first 12-week program that I completed was disciplining myself to do the workouts, because I had so much freedom at that time, like with my time, since I was home, not working, like, and just applying for jobs. I was just out of college. I still had like financial help. So I like was not working and just applying for jobs for, um, actually that whole 3 month period, the whole 12 weeks. And so I feel like the hardest part was definitely just like actually doing the workouts. I really had to discipline myself and schedule like, okay, Ashley, you're going to do, you know, day 2 of week 3 at 12 o'clock. And like, I would literally set a timer for myself to like take that break. And like, also I knew I needed that break mentally from just sitting at my computer and like staring at my screen all day, or like, instead of like getting distracted and like watching a TV show and ending up like binging it for like 5 hours. I like had my workouts there instead. But some days, like, so the first 3 weeks, I struggled. I would skip my days, skip my workouts, and then what would like what I would do when that would happen was I would double up the next day. And so, say for example, if it was like week 2 and like Monday and Tuesday, say if I skipped Monday, on Tuesday I would do Monday and Tuesday's workout, and every time I would do that, I would like punch myself. I would like be like, why am I doing this to myself? Like I'm literally torturing, like torturing my body right now, and like I'd be so sore the next day. And so, you know, it was like a learning process for me for sure, and learning how to discipline myself. But so definitely the challenge was just getting used to working out every day, or I was 6 days out of 7. But I feel like after like the first month of doing that kind of schedule, it got easier. But I would even say, even in week 12, like the last week of it, there was, I think, maybe one day where I skipped it because I was like, I'm too sore, I'm too tired, like I'm not doing this. And then I just like doubled up the last day. But then at that point, I already gotten like used to training my body and my brain to like work that way, if that makes sense.
Now, when you found your job, did you find it during the 12 weeks or after 12 weeks, that first 12 weeks was done?
After the 12 weeks, after the 12
Okay.
weeks, yeah, um, yeah, after the 12 weeks.
So now you found your job. The 12 weeks is over, but obviously you're in a new lifestyle change, because like you always told me, you don't want to say diet, it's a lifestyle change. So
Mhm, mhm.
you made your lifestyle change. How hard was it to get that implemented with your work schedule now that you're
Yeah,
working?
yeah. Actually, I feel like since I'd already created those habits, daily habits, and I was also trying to like eat healthier, of course, because the saying of abs are made in the kitchen is 100% true. Like you can do as many crunches and ab workouts and all that kind of stuff. You can do it until like your body's exhausted, but you will not see results unless you eat right, because your body needs to shed that fat but working from the inside out. Um, and so when I started my 9 to 5 job and I didn't have like the freedom to work out in the middle of the day, my healthy lifestyle and like my workout, my like workout routine and like being used to moving 6 to 7 days out of the week and like, working out my body in that kind of way helped me so much to transition because I already had that discipline. And honestly, I was like really excited to start my 9 to 5 because I was like, oh, I can implement meal prepping now, which I had never done during my 12-week program because I was just at home cooking all my meals. And so meal prepping was like a whole new thing that I was like really, really excited about because all of the fitness people who I had started to follow within my 12-week journey, I was like, seeing them on Instagram meal prepping and like seeing all the recipes, and I like had saved them in like my own personal like the Instagram like archives and like on my photo album and all that kind of stuff. And so like I had all these recipes that I had wanted to try. And so already having finished that 12-week program like kind of set me up for success to continue that lifestyle into my 9 to 5 job. It was just kind of switching into meal prepping. So like taking the time over the weekend to prep my meals since I wouldn't be home to cook them. And then also changing my schedule to be like, okay, Ashley, instead of doing your workout at this time, you're going to have to do it either before or after work and, see what would work better for you. I honestly, even to this day, I have switched up my workout time, either like morning or afternoon. I've switched up my like that regimen quite often actually. Like I think probably like every 3 months I switch, to be honest. And I think that's just like a personal thing. Some people do not thrive in that way, but for me, like I'm okay with maybe doing 3 months. I'll like work out at 6 a.m. before work, and then I'd be like, okay, Ashley, like I need to calm down and like I don't like this anymore, and I'd switch it to working out in the evenings for however long that my body like feels good doing that. But I really feel like it's different for everyone, and I think one of the most important things I've discovered through it all is to do what's best for you, to do what's best for you and to do what works for you, because even no matter how many fitness people or people you talk to or advice you get is all nice and like great to gain that knowledge, but ultimately it's your success is based off of what works best for you and your lifestyle and your circumstances.
Now, when you think about a lot of times social media can be motivation or it can be discouraging. How
Yeah.
would you say that? Because you talked about a lot of these people that you follow. How did you keep that as motivation as opposed to discouragement?
Um, I would say one, filtering who you follow. So when I first started, I was like literally following everyone who like either I was inspired by or like honestly who I wanted to look like what like their body type, like what I was like aspiring to be, or like not necessarily like I want to look exactly like her because everyone's body is like uniquely different, but like, oh, like what is she doing to get, those abs or like stuff like that. But also learning along the way, realizing that, like I said, everyone's on their own journey. And so sometimes we can all get into those, social media traps. And especially as a woman, like I feel like women are more susceptible to this, and like comparing ourselves to other women. And that's, I mean, it happened to me, it happens to everyone. And so I feel like, again, like filtering who you follow and like what you spend your time focusing on, and like the content you consume, I think is super, super important. Like even like I do this now where I'll go through and like if I see a post or a caption that doesn't align with like me or my beliefs, or just doesn't, or like doesn't, or even if it just doesn't rub me the right way, or if it's someone who like I thought or I felt was motivating before, but now I just feel like I'm not aligned with them anymore, and like they don't, what they have to say or what they post on social media like isn't inspiring to me anymore, like I will be the first to unfollow that person, just because I know for like me mentally that's not helping me in any way, shape, or form, you know. But yeah, we're in a day and age now where social media and influencers are consuming our feeds. Um, and so I feel like you just have to be super selective with who you follow, why you follow them, and then if that person ever starts to stray away from like what you believe in, or like how like they make you feel, if that starts not to feel good, then like unfollow them. There's an unfollow button for a reason. And so yeah, I'm a strong supporter of the unfollow button as well.
Now, as right now we're dealing with COVID-19 at the time of this podcast, and probably by the time it airs, we'll still be under social restrictions. What are some quick, like off the top of your head, like some workouts or even some resources that people can find or do to help them keep their journey? A lot of, because one of the things that you told me was true when you work in a gym is that essentially January 1st, the gym looks like a Royal Rumble. Um, the coronavirus pandemic struck around March. Now, this is where people are, trying to get their summer bodies ready. And I've heard even people put out memes that says summer body is canceled due to coronavirus. It will resume in summer
Oh my gosh.
2021. But for those who haven't canceled their plans, and just begin their fitness journey, what can they do now while they're stuck in the house or stuck, only can go for home work in the supermarket? What can they do, or what are some resources?
Yeah, at home workouts. That's how I started my fitness journey. My 12-week program was all at home. I did have like my apartment complex gym that I had access to, but I also had dumbbells at home. But also like there's plenty of resources out there on YouTube, on even on Instagram Live nowadays. A lot of fitness people are doing are doing classes via IGTV that are all like body weight exercises. And also, me currently, I am a part of the Tone It Up community, which is an online community of women who are all into fitness and working out. And Tone It Up has an app, and I'm using that right now for my home workouts. And like I said, I have dumbbells at home, but there are plenty of workouts out there on the Tone It Up app, on YouTube, on Instagram, that are all body weight workouts that are still super effective. And you can still get a great sweat in. And I feel like especially during these times of the coronavirus, and we're all stuck at home and probably being very sedentary, um, is a time that we need to keep moving. We need to stay sane. And also, when it's nice outside here in Maryland, it's been pretty nice. And so, getting outside, I have a dog, and so I walk her for at least one 30-minute walk a day. And like, that's awesome to get a little cardio in, getting your heart pumping, getting your blood moving. So yeah.
Okay. So now, we want to shift over to your career. Now, you've been heavily into public relations, media relations. What was it about public relations and media relations that made you decide, like, this is what you wanted to do?
Um, I would say so. I decided like early on in college when I was like a business communications major, and there's so many different avenues you can go in communications, and I chose public relations like pretty early on. And what made me fall in love with it was the opportunity to like be in the chaos kind of dealing with the media, and working with local news and newspapers and radio stations. And I loved how PR had like that creative side where coming up with a campaign or a social media strategy or anything like that. Like, I loved bringing the creative side of me out in that kind of way. um and also, I feel like just me in general as like a person, I love meeting new people. I love um socializing and talking and just getting to know people from all kinds of walks of life. And with PR, I feel like you're exposed to that every single day, whether you're working with clients or within like your team, just your team internally too. It's a field where you're forced to talk to people. And I felt like even from a young age, I was good at that. And I was like, well, if you can do this for a job like that, sign me up. That's amazing. And also the side of public relations that I fell in love with too is event planning. One of my first job out of college was I was an event planner, and so I learned a lot from that first job. And it wasn't corporate events, which is why I ultimately left that job. But that's what I love about PR too, is that corporate event side of it, where you also get to plan maybe a super exciting or extravagant event that also you get to deal with the media part of things and all that stuff. So yeah, I love PR because of all that stuff, the human connection, the creativity, and I feel like since it's such a fast-paced work environment, like you're honestly learning something new every day.
Now, you said you did some event planning with your first job.
Yes.
Now, I'm gonna take you there and wanted to go back to like your fitness stuff. Obviously, you said you were part of the Tone It Up community, and I know you've gone on different like retreats. Is that the right word? Conventions
Mhm.
with them.
Mhm.
Um, have you like thought about like, man, maybe if I can merge the two together, like merge the two worlds together?
Yes, I have definitely thought about that. Honestly, for a long time, my dream, I was like, you know what? I want to work for Tone It Up. Like, they are based out in California. They were co-founded by these two boss babes, Karina and Katrina. Um, and yeah, I mean, if my path were to so cross that path in the future, I feel like that would be a dream come true. I would have loved to help plan their and just be a part of the community even more, and help them with. I mean, they're based mostly on social media as well, with Tone It Up community online, and so they do a lot of like content creation on social. So I love that part of PR too. So I would say if my path were ever to cross that bridge, I would say yes in a heartbeat for sure.
Now, I'm going to shift to when, obviously when we met at Johns Hopkins, one of the things that you did there was JHTV, and you got a chance to create social media plans and stuff. What was, I guess to say, like, what was, talk about the difficulties of essentially creating social media content for stuff that you're just getting an opportunity to learn about, as opposed to like fitness, fitness, and then you work for a fitness company,
Hmm.
boom, create social media, you could do that off the top of your head. But now you shift over to essentially like a new world, technology world, and you got to create social media content, social media plans for that. Can you talk about the challenges and stuff with that?
Yeah, like you said, it was like foreign territory for me. I came into managing Johns Hopkins technology venture social media, honestly kind of blind, and no one had ever before me had ever really handled their social media and like was designated to their social media to that extent. So it was a ginormous learning curve. I'm not gonna lie. It was a lot of trial and error, and also not being afraid to ask questions. I multiple times, especially when I had first started creating content for their social channels, asking my contacts within JHTV, like essentially like for them to dumb it down for me, but then also to help them understand that I need to understand it so the general public will understand it. Because I mean, we were dealing and promoting about inventions and innovations that are heavily scientific, or like has a lot of jargon in it from the industry, where a person seeing this on social media, if they just like hopping across the tweet or something like that, would probably not know what that means or like what that word is. And social media is all about, creating that common ground and so people can connect and understand and relate. And so I was that person really to bridge that gap to essentially HTV and all of their innovations and all of their startup companies to be more relatable and to show the world that all the cool work that they were doing, but showing it to them in a way that was easily digestible. And to get to that point, it was first going through me, and it first needed to be that Ashley understood what was happening, and so I could effectively communicate to the general public what these people were creating and what they were working on. But yeah, a lot of trial and error, a lot of questions, and being okay with asking. And like essentially it was me at some points looking kind of dumb, I feel like, to a point, because it was like I feel like sometimes they would kind of forget, or they're not used to thinking about like, oh yeah, like these people don't know what I'm talking about, I need to explain it in like layman's terms kind of thing. So that was definitely my biggest challenge for sure.
Well, the thing is, I wanted to bring that up because the targeted audience for this show, remember those words? The targeted audience for this show is really students who are, really people who try and figure out what they want to do, people who know where they want to go, and they want to talk to people who have gone through similar journeys. You talk about the importance of you kind of mentioned it, but just go a little bit deeper in essentially checking your ego at the door to tell somebody, a scientist, tell somebody who's been in their field the longest time to basically make it where the lay audience can understand.
um yeah, I can go into that a little bit further. So like I said, it was also had to deal with me checking my ego at the door to be like,
Yeah, that's what I
okay,
mean.
like I don't know what this article is talking about, or what this essay or whatever I was reading is talking about. And sitting down with either whoever had sent it to me, or getting in contact with the person who wrote it themselves, or someone within the JHTV family who could explain it to me essentially. And it was a lot of like little meetings here and there, or like phone calls, and me like just recording and like writing down notes rigorously, and me literally asking all the time, like, can you dumb that down? Like that was honestly probably one of the phrases that I used, like probably mostly every day when I was doing JHTV content. And like, I mean, I'm a person, just my personality in general, like I'm not one person to like use big words or like make anyone feel lesser than. And so like I would, talk to these scientists and doctors and like talk to them like, I am one of their peers, and I would literally ask them like, can you dumb this down so it needs to be easily digestible. And I feel like when having that honest conversation with someone who has been in the field, or this is their line of work and they're not, and I feel like and I did experience this, like they're not asked that often in their line of work. They just either assume people understand what the heck they're talking about because they're in that same field, or I feel like honestly some people aren't, like, I don't want to say brave enough, but like people aren't bold enough to ask ask that kind of question in that way, or essentially just say like, can you dumb this down? Because when you say, can you dumb this down, it essentially I feel like can come off sometimes to people as if like that you're dumb. But I felt like that wasn't my case. I am, creating social media content for the public and also for Johns Hopkins students. And so, I mean, yes, Hopkins students are, of course, very highly intelligent, but like not necessarily in the particular field that I'm talking about. And so everyone needs to understand it, not just those people in that specific field.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things, having work beside you on a daily basis. I thought you did very well at was essentially bringing life to that channel and saying, "Hey, this is what you guys need to be doing. This is another audience you need to be tapping into. And you was able to relay that information to them as well. I think, and that's why the people over there liked you so much. So after you left Johns Hopkins, you got a chance to really go into working working in a gym full time. So you everything goes around back to fitness, obviously. This is something
Hmm.
you're very passionate about. Can you just talk about what it meant to kind of do that full time? Like where we started off the podcast, you talked about how you were essentially trying to figure out how to balance, you was trying to get on this fitness journey, and now you're teaching yoga and you're teaching other people and you're bringing more people in there and essentially making the people around you healthier. Can you talk about how much that meant to you and how like how you was able to relay your passion to others?
Yeah. So yeah, I left my position at Hopkins almost a year ago now. I left in April of 2019, and at that point too, I was at a crossroads where at a time in my life where I was like not feeling very fulfilled with my everyday work, and I knew fitness and yoga, brought joy and fulfillment to my life, and so I made the risky decision to kind of take that leap of faith and try to create a career in yoga and fitness. And like, a year later, I'm proud to say that I did it. I tested it out. I, loved what I was doing. I still love yoga. And throughout my year of like building my yoga career, starting from when I first quit Hopkins, I, of course, was applying to teach places. I was trying to find other small little part-time jobs in the fitness and wellness industry. And within my 1 year of doing this, I at one point had 6 jobs at one time. But and some people, when I say that, they're like, "Oh my gosh, like you're crazy. You're working like how many hours a week?" But for me, like this entire journey, it was so fulfilling because the entire time I was doing what I loved. I was bringing yoga and wellness and just like sharing my passion and my love for all these things that brought me so much joy every day. And so it truly didn't feel like work. And I got to make so many new connections and friendships through my yoga students. I was also working part-time at Lululemon, and I made some of my best friends at Lululemon because I was working alongside like-minded people who also love wellness and fitness and all those kinds of things too. And so I feel like that was one of the biggest things that I gained from this journey is just like those human connections that are with like-minded people, which I felt like was missing in my PR life. And I really I wanted to, and I felt like I went like complete opposite. I was like from corporate life and then all the way to yoga life, and I was living in leggings for a whole, for this whole year. And now, really starting it this past December, I had made the decision that I wanted to go back to PR and find the balance with teaching yoga on the side, but also bring back my love for public relations. That I definitely felt like I lost my spark in PR when I was at Hopkins, and that's why I did yoga full time, because I was like, okay, well, since I don't like PR, like I'm gonna do yoga full time. Then kind of what I discovered within my past year of engulfing my life in fitness and yoga is that one, there's a fine line between when your work is your passion and like kind of what that all entails in your everyday life. I still love yoga and I will still continue to teach, but definitely for me, I found that since I was teaching all the time and just working all the time, it just was not sustainable. I was exhausted. I was, you know, sacrificing so many things in my life, quality time with my fiance. We got a new puppy over the summer, so figuring out how to add her into our life too. It's just like it was a lot. And at the end of the day, I was like, is this worth it? And some of the biggest factors that brought me back to PR too and me realizing that maybe doing yoga full time was not for me, was the fact that I lost my own practice in yoga as well, because I was tired, because I was so overworked. I didn't have my own yoga practice, which was devastating to me, because I was like, well, I started this whole, yoga career because I wanted to do yoga more. And now I'm not even getting on my own mat. And like, what kind of yoga teacher isn't even practicing themselves? And so when I had realized that, that was kind of like my shift, where I was like, you know what? I do miss public relations. And I think before I was just not passionate about the work I was doing. But of course, yoga and fitness will always have a place in my heart, and like I will always still have a passion for it. But now I'm at a point in my life where I want to find the stability and the balance between having both, and like bringing joy back into both again.
Well, that's certainly awesome. Now, the the title of the show is called Breaking Through the Glass Ceiling. What was that moment when Ashley broke through the glass ceiling, where you realized that I'm really changing the world and really inspiring people with my yoga and with my fitness?
Hmm. I would say 2 points. One happened recently, and then one that happened a year ago. I feel like one, when I left my job at Hopkins and to pursue my passion for yoga and like trying to create my career in yoga, was one of the points where I was like breaking through. And um I say that because, one, when I had posted my little announcement on Instagram and on social media, I mean, it blew up, and it blew up more than I thought it would, to be honest. I got so many Instagram DMs, just like of people either wanting to do the same thing, and they're like, oh my gosh, like I hate my job too. I like wish I could do what you were doing. And just like little stories like that really like resonated with me and touched me, because I was like, so many people are feeling this way. And if I can do it, and if I can show these people that no matter what age you are, no matter what your circumstance is, like if you have a passion for something, go for it. Like we only have, my one thing I still truly believe in to this day, when I quit my corporate job and then up until now, is like, we only have one life. You only have one shot. You only have one chance to do what makes you happy. Like we shouldn't be living our everyday lives like that quote, like, we're like grinding. Like I hate that word. And I hate that phrase, because I feel like life isn't meant to be that way. We shouldn't be looking at life and like our everyday work life as a grind. It should be something that makes you feel fulfilled, and you shouldn't feel like you're just working to pay the bills or working to vacation. You should be working and doing something that you love, or at least, like, I would say, maybe not love sometimes, but just that you generally enjoy. Because I feel like that's what life is really about. Like, we shouldn't be living to just make a paycheck to do something else. That was the first time I felt like I was breaking through. And the second time was really recently, when I had recently announced that I got a new job in public relations at an agency here in Baltimore. And I was really scared to post that announcement, because I said it in my caption in my post, like, I feel like kind of a hypocrite, because a year ago I was talking about hating the 9-to-5 corporate life, and here I am, going back to it. But in my post, I had kind of said a couple bullet points of what kind of made me come to this decision. And I felt like ultimately that was me showing people that you can go after your passions and your dreams, and like go for it 100%. And then also, it's okay to change your mind. It's okay to keep evolving. Our journeys are never meant to stay stagnant, and the point of life, I feel like, is to keep growing and evolving and learning new things about yourself. And so that's, I feel like, kind of the message that I feel like I've been sharing more lately now with my like Instagram following and like all that kind of stuff, where people who have been following me ever since, years and years ago, all my entire journey and everything like that, it's ultimately my message is like, like go after your dreams and like do what you love, and also do what's best for you as each moment comes, because like I said, you only have one life. If you're unhappy where you are, like, you truly have the power to change your situation. And I wish more people told me that, instead of me just like telling myself that, because I feel like more people need to hear that, like, in today's society.
Awesome. Well, Ashley, I definitely appreciate you coming on. I know, like I said at the top of the show, I know how I've been inspired by you, and I wanted to share that with my network. Obviously, you can do things on an Instagram post like I did. When I would show my weight loss, I would tag you and Facebook posts and all that. But I wanted to put a voice to a name and hear more about your story so that people can say, hey, if she helped Brian, she can help me too. Because I was stubborn.
Yeah, I know you were, but you did it. It's probably because I saw you every day, and I could just like poke you to be like, hey, are you gonna do this?
Yeah, well, I'm definitely trying to get back on, and the the weather changed. Well, hopefully the weather's getting nicer again, so I can do more of the walks. Too bad I don't have a walking partner no more. But I'm gonna have to replace you. We'll see. We'll see. Before I let you out of here, let the people know where they can find you.
You can find me on Instagram. That's my main handle, at Ashley the Fit Yogi, and there's underscores in between every word.
All right, Ashley the Fit Yogi. So I'll make sure I link that so people know. Any final thoughts before you get out of here?
First, I want to say thank you for letting me ramble on about myself for however long this interview was. I feel like verbalizing kind of everything I've been through kind of gives me even more validation of where I am in my life, and also the kind of message and what I want people to hear from me, and like what I can give the world. So yeah, everyone out there who's listening, thanks for listening to us and to me ramble. And I hope you are inspired in any kind of way, of whether that's career-wise, fitness-wise. I'm always here to answer questions, and I'd love to connect with you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is Ashley the Fit Yogi. As Ashleyville. Ashley, thank you for joining. I appreciate you.
Thanks, Brian.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was my interview with Ashley Mill. I hope you enjoyed it. Next week, so we're going from fitness to video games, but we're staying with the ladies. I got Jordan Curl coming on. She's going to talk about her career as a esports journalist, as well as her love for video games and the transition from being just a traditional sports journalist to an esports journalist. So make sure you tune into that. Subscribe to the podcast if this is your first time listening. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope to have you back. You can find it anywhere: Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora Podcasts, iHeartRadio. So make sure you subscribe. And always remember, do not let anyone put up a glass ceiling that you can't break through. Forever 824. This podcast is brought to you by B. Waters Productions. It is produced and edited by myself, Brian H. Waters, with the music brought to you by Hypnosis. You can find Hypnosis on Instagram at hypno_beats.